Hello, welcome to the 23rd day of September or October 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video exercise that I do each and every morning at around 5:30 a.m. I do this to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use the time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with any various challenges and opportunities I may have met, handle them well, handle them poorly, something in between. Mostly the well and poorly, because those are where I can learn. I go over the 8 objectives of my creed and one of the principles, and then I prepare for the coming day. So first, hello to new subscribers. It's good to see you. It's good to have you on the channel. Um, this is a live journal event, so I'm at liberty to talk about anything I want. It's all about me, basically, although you're free to leave comments and criticisms as you see fit, and I will read and respond to those when I'm done. You, like I said, it's a public journal, and you may wonder, why do I do that? Well, I do it, again, more selfish reasons, because I do a better job if I know that others might watch. So your audience, being in the audience, helps to facilitate my doing a better job of trying to work on improving my own life. Hopefully we can enjoy a little time together, though, too, in the comments at the end. All right, let's see. I do talk about sensitive subjects, death being number one, so that comes up every day. So be forewarned if that's a sensitive subject to you. And then lastly, a huge thank you to my viewers, my YouTube members, and my Patreon supporters. I really do appreciate you. All right, so under the heading for the last 24 hours, I have one note here. It says hashtag, I really meant to put a hashtag there. Hashtag maturity, preparing for and during my job interview. Yeah, I had a job interview yesterday. It was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. I interviewed for an English teaching position with a company here that allows teachers to work from home, and will allow me to fill a couple of hours in the morning with teaching English to one-on-one in 25-minute blocks of time. So I did the interview. I was very nervous. So that's what the note is all about. Was I exercised maturity while preparing for and during the job interview. So what do I mean by that? Well, I always take job interviews very seriously, and I treated this one no different. I was careful to choose the company that I applied for. This is the first such company, online English teaching school, that I've applied for. I did some research. I used ChatGPT to help me to whittle down the schools until I found one that I thought would be a good fit. I went through the application process, which involved dressing up and making an introductory video, about an 8-minute video to introduce myself, filling out the paperwork and submitting that to the company. I got a pretty quick response that they wanted to interview me, and that was last week. And I picked a time slot, which was yesterday, to have that interview. There was a little bit of anxiety because the Google Calendar I had I did that application submission on my wife's computer, which is still set to California time. So the Google Calendar got things pretty messed up and confused because the system thought I was in California, and I wound up with a strange meeting, not the meeting time I expected, but a meeting time that worked out well anyway. So note to self: be careful about what time clock the computer that I'm using to set up meetings with has, right? Glad that worked out. It was funny because I got different notices. I got the notice on the computer, which is one time. I got the notice on email, which is another, and then I got the notice on Google Calendar on my device, which was one of those other two. So I had three different notifications, two of them indicating one time, one of them indicating another, which one's the truth. My solution was to screenshot all three of them, give them to ChatGPT, and let it unravel the mystery, which it promptly did, and it told me with certitude that my time was yesterday at 3 o'clock. So I trusted it, clicked on the link at 2:57 yesterday, and sure enough, I popped in, and the interview was the correct time. Whew. So back to the point. hashtag maturity, preparing for and during the job interview. So it had been it's been a long time since I've interviewed for a job, and what was really interesting was the change of mindset that's come in the last uh, year. Or it's been more than that. Well, it's been a year since it's been 11 months since I retired. How it's like not being in the workaday world and bang, 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 just going for it all the time really changes our mindset. It's like trying to, it's like trying to play, you know, water polo if you haven't been swimming for a long time, right? If you're if you're fit and you've been training and you know how to do water polo and you've got the good legs to keep you above the surface and you can lunge out of the water, then you can play water polo well. And that's what it's like working in the workaday world every year for year after year after year. I can do it. Okay, well, this job's not going so well. Maybe I'll get an interview. I'll go over here and do that job to show them what I got at the interview, right? But if you had a year, 11 months like I have of not swimming in the pool, just trying to muster the inertia to do the interview took a lot. So it was difficult, and I'm glad I took it slowly. I started this job search process 2 weeks ago, and then yielded the interview yesterday after a lot of hard work. And like I said, had to make introduction video, and I had to do a demonstration lesson. Actually teach a class, so to speak, not a full class, but a demo, and the whole thing was recorded. And today the recorded demonstration lesson will be watched by the hiring agents. It's a pretty mature school. It's been around for as long as my daughter's been around. Anyway, I was impressed by how, even though I was a little bit anxious about the whole thing and I didn't feel like I was up to the task, and only 11 months into retirement, oh my gosh, I pity the fool who tries to do this 5 years into retirement. I mean, because you sink deeper, sink might be the right word, and into whatever ways and means you have in the retired life. I'm only 11 months removed from playing volleyball, water polo. Can you imagine? Been fun 5 years. I'm hoping I'll know today whether I got the job. But back to the note here. Hashtag maturity, preparing for and during the interview. I used hashtag. I say that because I took each step so carefully and deliberately. So deliberately researching multiple schools and picking one that I thought would be a good one for me to try for from my circumstance here in Japan. And then in preparing for the application, carefully considering all of the questions, making a careful application introduction video. Like I said, it was 8 minutes long. I did a good job of introducing myself, finding ways to make sure that my introduction was relevant to the school's mission. Researching the school, what their mission is all about, learning a little bit about their students. Even went so far as to create a student profile on the website, so I could log in as a student and view the school's website, from the perspective of a student. So I had that as well, which armed me to help better portray myself in my introduction video as someone who was not only knowledgeable about how to teach English, but also was a little bit aware of their business, their school, their mission, and the perspective of their students. This also helped me having the account and being able to review the system from the school from the inside, so to speak, to perform a better interview. And when I did my demonstration lesson yesterday, to do the demo lesson with that, armed with that knowledge about who the students are and what they're looking for and what they see when they're looking for teachers. So, and then I set up a custom GPT to help me with the training. I had the GPT study the school, and then I had the GPT prior to the interview act as the interviewer and ask me and actually run me through a dry interview. So the GPT and I did the interview itself. It was asking me the questions, I was giving it the answers, and it was tuning my answers and saying, well, Kurt, you know, that's good that you gave a good answer, but maybe you can find a way, Kurt, to fill in the school's mission for things like, making comfortable, comfortable, friendly, and affordable lessons available online. Find a way to rephrase your response, Kurt, so that you kind of drop in the keywords that relate to the school's mission. Right? Do it in a subtle way, but in a way that clearly aligns us with that. And I did that. And another thing that I did that was really helpful was the interview, the GPT that interviewed me asked me about um, difficult, difficult or no, shy students, students who are reluctant to speak English. This is the kind of question that I wasn't really prepared. I wouldn't have thought of on my own. I wouldn't have been prepared. Like, if the interview asked me that, what would I do about that? How would I answer that? I've got a student who's kind of shy. I can make stuff up, right? I can on the fly, and it'll sound all right. But because the Chat GPT had asked me that question, and it wasn't in the interview, I took a little time and thought about it, and I came up with an answer that I thought was very, very satisfying, which was that I would, if I had a student that could speak English but was reluctant to, I would respond in the interview that a lot of that in the Japanese context is due to this shyness that Japanese have relative to making mistakes. The Japanese are very a lot of the hesitancy that they share that they display is because they don't want to make a public mistake. They're going to lose face, so to speak. So my answer was that if I had a student that was like that, and I told this to the Chat GPT, if I had a student that was shy but could speak English, I knew they could speak English. They were just shy because they don't want to make mistakes. I could demonstrate for them as the teacher that I too make mistakes and in Japanese, and show them that it's all right to do that, and it can even be fun. And I came up with an example. I would tell the student if they're reluctant to speak, I would say, hey, let's talk about our weekend. Let me go first. I went to a ramen restaurant where I had a new type of ramen I had before tonkatsu ramen. Excuse me. Tonkatsu ramen. Now, the student would immediately spot my mistake. It's not tonkatsu ramen, it's tonkotsu ramen. It's a different pronunciation, right? But it means completely different type of thing. Tonkatsu ramen might actually be good. It's a breaded pork item that you have with a special sauce. But imagine that on top of your ramen. And so I told ChatGPT I would tell this story. Well, I went to a ramen restaurant and I had tonkatsu ramen, and the student would certainly correct me and say, oh, tonkatsu. Don't you mean tonkotsu ramen? Or if they didn't correct me, I would say, wait a minute, tonkatsu ramen. That's not right. And the student would jump in and correct me. And I told ChatGPT. Then once I had opened the door by showing my own vulnerability, my own ability to make mistakes, my own willingness to speak Japanese, to use Japanese words, even if I get them wrong, and to even laugh it off with the student who helped me to see the lay and be grateful for that, would then show the student that at least with me, they don't need to worry about feeling uncomfortable if they make mistakes. It's just part of the game. So I did that. That was a question that came from ChatGPT that allowed me to model that that response. Now, during the actual interview, guess what they asked me? Exactly that question, almost word for word with what ChatGPT asked me. And I was prepared. I had my little response not only prepared, I had actually said the whole thing, 2 hours before during my role play with ChatGPT, and I said it, and the interviewer laughed. She said that's a great way to handle it, and she even said that was a great answer. So again, hashtag maturity in preparing for and during the interview. I use maturity to research the schools I might want to apply to, pick a school, come up with go apply put all the application information in order, come up with an 8-minute introduction video that I was able to send along as well, which yielded a very quick response and an invitation for an interview, which I then did yesterday, preparing for the interview, scripting it out. I had even on my whiteboard, which I keep with me everywhere, I keep my notes, I had even positioned the questions that I wanted to ask them over here, because I did the interview right here, so I could see it just off camera. And when the time of the interview came and they asked me, do I have any questions? I had them all right there, ready to go. And I adjusted them a little bit based on the information that I had during the interview. Altogether, it went really well. The demo lesson was the one thing that caught me off guard. I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that we were going to do a demo lesson. But I think I improvised on the fly pretty good, especially given that that came at the end of the rest of the interview, which I think had gone pretty well. So I think the demo lesson went pretty well as well. But I won't know for sure until later today. I should know today if I've got the job. If I do have the job, then this is going to be really good because I want to target. I got this idea of doing this from my neighbor. I do radio exercise every day at 6:30 a.m. And one of my neighbors, she's kind of a community leader here. She was after she speaks English really well, and after the lesson, after radio exercise, like about 2 weeks ago, she was telling me, Kurt, Kurt, do you ever teach the online classes? She said you'd be really good at that. She said, what do you mean? She says, well, a lot of older Japanese like me, we have free time, and during the day we get online and we talk to people like you as part of our day. And she said I thought she thinks you'd be good at that, Kurt. Now, well, serendipity, right? Because I'm just now de- uh, addressing the issue of making sure that we have we are what is the word, liquidity, ensuring our liquidity till summer next year when Social Security kicks in. I thought, well, I was thinking about maybe I could get a job. And I thought, well, why not? So that's what kicked all this off. And at the end, one of the questions I had was about the student base. And I specifically said to them that my availability is most likely going to be during the day. And the interviewer's eyes lit up. She's like, really, the day? Because that's when everybody, all the other people are working. And she says, we have all kinds of seniors that are looking for native English speakers like you to talk to during the day. And I'm like, well, okay, well, she said also we need substitute teachers that can just, drop in at a moment's notice. Well, that's me. Call me Mr. Sub. I got nothing but time. She said I can even set the system up to just sit here strumming my guitar with the button set up in my classroom saying I'm available, and anybody can just drop in and have a lesson. So I think this is going to work out if I get the job. I feel very good about it though. The But again, this isn't story time. This exercise, this video, this live that I do isn't story time. This is to talk about the application of my values relative to the events in my life. And I would say that um, I got to give myself a 5 stars yesterday on that interview. Even if I don't get the job, I would still give myself 5 stars because it's not about getting the job necessarily. It's about how did I comport and compose myself during the preparing for the interview, searching for the school, preparing for the interview, and executing the interview. And as I've already illustrated, I think I did a really good job in all of those things. I really don't think I could have done a better job than that. If that sounds like self-congratulations, well, remember, this is Dear Diary. I had a job interview yesterday and it went really well. And so there it is. All right, now for my creed. It consists of 8 objectives, which you can read about in my book, Going Alone, and 35 principles that attend those objectives and help me to achieve them. The 8 objectives are as follows. Number 1 is to be always ready to die, to have my affairs, relationships, and life's work in good order. Number 2 is to make good use of my time, to not waste my days. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. That's specifically what I fulfilled that. I fulfilled and am fulfilling every day that objective by first writing the book and 2, thinking about the book and acting on it every day, mainly through this exercise. Objective number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, that I respond well when things are tricky. Number 5 is to perform good actions relative to my values. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities, a very stoic value for sure, talking about what is and what is not within the scope of our control. Number 7 is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And number 8 is to maintain my balance. Now, with regard to the all of that and my balance, I'm a little off my footing this week because of the situation back in the United States. It remains a situation. It's being attended well right now. I'm not needed there right now, but I could be needed there in a moment's notice, and that's on my mind a lot, and I think about it a lot. And last night I didn't sleep as well as I could have because I was up in the middle of the night thinking about that. I won't share the details because they're not my details to share, but I will. The extent of my involvement is my potential need, the potential need that my the potential for me needing to go back to America to participate in this. At at the moment, that's not the case. If I were a betting man, I would say I'm going back. Probably before Christmas, and I'll probably be there for a long time. Gotta make sure my house is in order here before all that happens, and I'm working on it. What will I do if I get this job? And I had thought about that, right? What do I do if I get this job? Well, it's kind of a voluntary thing, so you can kind of do a little bit here, do as much or as little as you want. I'll just put it that I'd probably just, if I get some students, if I get the job, and if I get some students, then I'll attend to them from the United States. Maybe try to figure out a time slot that, like right now, uh, early in the morning. I mean, old people get up early, not this early, but old people get up early, and maybe in the early morning hours have lessons that attends the evening in the United States when I might be free, and I could keep a few lessons to keep the job going. But that is less significant than the situation itself, which is phenomenally significant. It truly is, and this is one of the principles in my book, the horror show, which is not just when life goes poorly, but when life becomes horrifying, and that's kind of what's happening. So no wonder I'm not sleeping well. All right, the as for my principles today, I'm going to read the principle called the best seat in the house. You can read Going Alone at goingalone.org by clicking on the button, read the book. And a huge thank you again to my supporters. I just made the 2-year payment for the website, which was $800, and your support paid for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. I mean, all day long, every day. I mean, this is worth focusing on. All day long, every day, I have a website that I made that supports the book. The whole book is there. It can be read for free, plus all kinds of supporting information and links and resources, and a daily blog that I work on every day. And that's my journal entry, basically. And I'm able to maintain that website and every day able to say to people like you can read the book for free at goingalone.org. It's not through my own generosity, it's through the largesse of my supporters, my YouTube members, and my supporters on Patreon, whose direct contributions over the last 2 years went to pay the $800 2-year fee. Basically it's $400 a year to maintain the website. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You all did that. Thank you. I mean, that's really means a lot to me, and I can't thank you literally enough. So you can read the book by going to goingalone.org, like I said, and if you go to the chapter titled of the book titled The Good Life, you can find the best seat in the house principle, which is principle number 21. Okay. Okay, so the best seat in the house on page 265 of the hardbound edition, and I am reading again from Jamie's. Whoops, I just said your name. I don't think Jamie will mind if I say your name. This is Jamie's copy that I'm illustrating. I've been carefully illustrating it for about 2 weeks now. And Jamie, thank you for sending your book to me to be signed and illustrated. So this is Jamie's copy on page 265. The best seat in the house. I have learned, and this is a quote. I have learned, in whatever state I am, therewith to be content. That's from St. Paul. The best seat in the house. This place and time where I now, this place and time where I am now will suffice. Let me read that better. This place and time where I am now will suffice. I will have peace where and who I am at this time and doing whatever engages my necessity and motive and the pursuit of virtue. Meanwhile, I will also strive towards better ends for myself and others, not as a replacement of my current circumstance and work, but rather as a natural improvement upon these. So the best seat in the house suggests that being satisfied with our current circumstance and at the same time striving for improvement, a difficult and challenging balancing act where we're at once sated with our current situation, yet compelled towards what's better. How do you do that? It's an interesting thing to be both at once at peace and at once striving. Mm, that's the best seat in the house. By the way, did I tell you that ChatGPT? I have a special GPT that I use. I have a lot of different GPTs that I've set up for certain things. They're task driven. They're like my little apprentice, not apprentices. They're like my little interns. They help me with stuff. But I have one main GPT that knows everything about everything in my life, and it gave my little room here an interesting name. It calls it ChatGPT. I showed it a picture of my room and the balcony, which here you can flip the camera around. You can see the balcony, which you've seen before. That's where I used to do my good life meditation out there. Here's little Rudy sleeping he's somewhere. There he is. Hi, little Rudy. I put this bed out here. He loves to sleep there. He's wearing my sweater last night. So here's the balcony. It's kind of cold out there today. Well, let's see if we can zoom in on the thing. You can see the temperature gauge and humidity. What is that? 12 degrees and about 70% humidity. Ooh, I just burned myself. Candles. Well, anyway, I showed this to ChatGPT, the big one, the one that knows everything about me, and here's I was trying to do something like we were making a picture or something like that, and it said, "Ooh, Kurt, I like your room so much. Let's call it." And it came up with this idea. It says, "Let's call it the observatory." And I said, "Oh, the observatory. I like that name." It says, and then the ChatGPT went on and said, "We'll call it the Observatory of Quiet Things." Perfect name. So my room now is the Observatory of Quiet Things. So I really like that. Uh, so for the next 24 hours. Oh, so I was talking about the best seat in the house. The best seat in the house for me right now is my Observatory of Quiet Things, from which I as Thoreau once wrote, my senses radiate from this point. In Walden, there's a passage where he talks about his senses, his observation radiating out across the landscape. Ah, I wish I could quote it directly, but I can't remember it fully. Anyway, that's my best seat in the house. And now, as for today, it's going to be a very struck. Well, it's a completely free day. Tomorrow, I'm being visited by one of you. Um, not one of you that, although they have been here. The person that's coming to see me tomorrow has been in the chat before. I won't say their name, but they are coming. We're going to have lunch tomorrow here in Shizuoka. I'm looking forward to that. No such thing today. Today, I'm going to be having just a full-on routine day. It looks like it's not raining, which means radio exercise at 6:30, which means also a full structured day. A lot of stuff to do. Um, I'm stopping because I have things I'm going to be doing, but they're related to the situation and the other situation. There's two situations I'm working on, and I'm not comfortable talking about the details. Like I said, the first one is not my situation. So I'll just say that I have a busy day ahead of me. Plan to doing uh, important and important and useful stuff, and hopefully I'll get news today if I get the job. Hopefully I'll be able to report that to you tomorrow. Let's read comments. Hello, Robert. Robert says currently 49 degrees Fahrenheit and 76% humidity with an air quality index of 23 in Napanee, Ontario, Canada. Sounds nice, kind of chilly. Humidity is kind of good. Air quality is so-so, right? Hello, Marmighty. Good. Marmighty says hello to me. Good evening to Tim and everyone joining after this message. What a very nice forward-facing welcome, a greeting, Marmighty. Michael. Hi, Michael. Is this Michael that I know from the middle of the United States? I think it is. I'm so grateful I actually got to join one of these. I've been trying to time it right, but it's so hard with the work schedule. Yeah, I'm sure this is Michael. Work and family. You are a busy person, and it's good. It's really good to see you, Michael, so to speak. Robert says hello to Marmighty and Michael. And Michael, by the way, is a longtime friend of the channel. Robert says, glad you made it, Michael. There's Jim Jam Birds morning. That's which is AKA Jamie. Jamie, I hope you don't mind. I outed you. What do they call it? Doxing you? Is that what all the is that what everybody calls it? I said your name. I apologize. I apologize. The bird is out of the cage, so to speak. Jim Jam Birds is here. Morning, 11 degrees C with gusty winds and rain here in Vancouver today. Spoken like an aviator. Sarah says good morning to all. Hello, Sarah. Robert says hello to Jim Jam Birds and Sarah. Tim says good morning. Weather check for the UK at 9:41 p.m. at 9.5 C and 85% humidity. Storm Benjamin due tomorrow for parts of the UK. Tim, I stumbled across a fellow countryman of yours on YouTube, I think it was, or maybe it was Instagram, who has a very interesting channel I wanted to share with you. It's Tinned Fish Review. He's a gentleman. He wears kind of has a bushy beard. He wears a red fez, and he reviews canned fish products from fish canned fish tinned, I guess as you say it, tinned fish store in I think somewhere in the UK. It's his videos are absolutely fascinating. Tinned Fish Reviews. Check it out if you can, if you haven't already heard of him. And I didn't realize that tinned fish were such a thing. And in America, we hardly ever eat that stuff. We see sardines on the shelf, but I was unaware of the incredible variety and delicacy of tinned fish in the United Kingdom. Robert says hello to Tim. Tim says hi to Robert and all. Elvina, hello, Elvina. Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. A cold, wet, rainy day here in Mimico, Ontario. Ooh, I hope you bundle up. Robert says, and it's kind of chilly here. Do you see I broke out the heater right there? Yeah, first day I broke it out. It's in the room here. It's now just under 20 because I had the heater on before, but outside it's 12 or something like that. Da, da. Robert says hello to Elvina. Evelyn, hi Evelyn. She says hi to Kurt, myself, Robert, Sarah, Marmite, Tim, Jim Jam Birds, Michael. Hope I didn't miss anyone. And bonus points and kudos. And don't think I'm not missing the fact that, or not noticing the fact, Evelyn, and you and others do this as well, that you actually wrote out everybody's name in their entirety. That takes some effort. You even put a semicolon after the names to put an appropriate pause before saying, "Hope I didn't miss anyone." What grammar? I mean, I'm a grammar kind of guy. I really like it. In fact, it's interesting. A lot of I over on the X platform, I was accused last week of not writing my own journal entries because they resemble Chat GPT. Someone said you'd be nice if you could write your own damn journal entries, right? But I do write my own journal entries. I sit on the sofa here every morning. I actually type the whole thing out, and one of the whole thing out in its entirety. But I am guilty of using AI because then I then take that journal entry as I do all my writing. I write all my writing myself. And then I push it through a special GPT that I created to improve for grammar, flow, and readability. So that GPT doesn't change everything, but it like puts a semicolon where maybe I had a comma where it might belong a little bit better for readability and flow. It makes it better. Corrects if I've got any spelling errors, stuff like that. But the reason the person called me out was that specifically because my um, writing includes M dashes, those long double hyphens that then join together to create a long dash. And they said that's a hallmark of AI. Well, if you've read any of my books, which were written before AI, you'll notice that I use M dashes myself. Now, I use M dashes specifically because I learned how to do that reading books like Walden, which was written in the 19th century, where M dashes were used as a part of the writing process. My writing models the writing that Henry David Thoreau did because I really love the beautiful care that Thoreau and Emerson and Hawthorne and Melville and others take in composing and structuring their writing, especially with regard to good grammar. So I can see how someone now, and so ChatGPT tends to do that as well, and people have picked up on that. So with the arrival of M dashes in people's writing, that's a clue. AI wrote that, but in fact, I use M dashes myself. So I pleaded to the person. I said, you're right. AI was involved, but I did write it. I did write the initial post myself. I just passed it through an AI filter for readability, which I liken to be kind of like nothing more than a fancy spell checker in the way I use it, right? I mean, so I'm all for it, and I do believe that, and it does change the wording a little bit sometimes, always for the better. And with my writing, what I'm after is clarity and relevance, because one of the things I know about, for example, my book is that it's a little bit of a hard read. And I know that again, if you've ever read Walden, it's a hard read too. And I don't know how that happened necessarily, but I read this book when I was 16 and it impressed, and I worked so hard to try to understand it that somehow I wound up as a writer that writes in a way that's similar to that. And I'm kind of in a clandestine kind of a way. I'm kind of proud of the fact that I'm, at least if I'm not able to emulate Thoreau, at least that I'm trying my best to put my foot in his footsteps, because one of the things I really enjoyed about Walden as a 16-year-old was trying to untangle Thoreau's message and meaning from these paragraph length sentences and page length paragraphs. I mean, if I just, there's one right there. If you just open it, I mean, there's a friggin', oh no, that one, oh yeah, oh no, it does have some. It's, the book is full of page length paragraphs. Is that one right there? No, there's nearly one over on this side. I'm sure it goes into the other side if it would. Anyway, I've gone on and on. But anyway, so just all that from observing um, er, Evelyn's uh, salutation to everyone in such a nice way. And Evelyn says hi to Elvina. Elvina says hello to Robert. Jim Bird says hello to everyone. Evelyn says that school may want to hire you as an executive, not a teacher, after that interview. Huh? Thank you. Tim says, I interviewed for a post in my team 4 months before I retired. And I think that was just as hard as being interviewed, especially that was that was just as hard going as being interviewed, especially when it was 12 candidates in one day. Hard task, Tim. I interviewed for a post in my, I want to read this to make sure I understand. I interviewed for a post in my team 4 months before I retired, and I think that was just as hard going as being interviewed, especially when it was 12 candidates. Oh, you were the interviewer. Is that right? You were on the interviewer side. Did you go through 12 candidates in one day? That's that's a lot of work. Wow, I've been on the interviewer side as well. We usually do at the County of Riverside, we do a panel of three, and we would do no more than three in a day. Wow. Robert says, and so yeah, just to build on that point, Tim, yeah, I think there's something, it gets really hard. And the hard, and now, I mean, I can't imagine trying to interview for a quote unquote serious job. Yeah, what I mean by serious job is like a full time job that would require all my attention and time. That's what I mean by serious at this stage, even 11 months out. Hmm. And I think age has done it too. Robert says hello to Evelyn, but more than age is the fact that I've retreated. Elvina says hello to Evelyn. Matt, hi Matt. Sorry catching up with Kurt's videos. What was the interview about? English teaching job. Yes, that's exactly what it was. Robert says hello to Matt. Erica says hi to Kurt, me, and all. Robert says hello to Erica. Matt says hello to Robert. Erica says hi to Robert. Sarah says, hi, Sarah. Good luck, Kurt. I think if this job works out, it will suit well. It sounds like you handled the interview really well. I hope so. Thank you. If, Tim says, if the job is online, Kurt, then you can still do it in the States depending on timing in the day, I guess. Yes, that's exactly right. I think I could. Uh, Sarah says Rudy looks like he's smiling. He's very happy there. I think he's a very happy little boy. Boy, that's my one of my main purposes in life is to make him happy, because he had such a scary first part of his life. I'm so glad that he was able to come into my life, as difficult as he is. In a way, having a difficult dog is kind of a blessing in a way, because it kind of it begs me to be a better person, right, and rise to the occasion. Tim says, morning temps are dropping here. It's around 7 C by dawn. Ooh, cold. That's really cold. Sarah says, weather in Melbourne, Australia, 10 to 17 C, 76% humidity. We had cyclone level 2 winds yesterday, made the bay quite wild and choppy. Ooh, no kidding. I think I've mentioned to you, Sarah, I've been to Melbourne twice. Loved it there. Jim Jambird says, all good, Kurt? Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks for calling out your name. Doxing use, I think, and I keep showing off your book. Tim says, thanks, Kurt. We'll check it out. We always have tinned sardines, LOL, on a Sunday. Unsure if it's a British thing, a little like tinned baked beans. So maybe it is. Well, I love it. Tim says, sorry, Kurt. Yes, I was interviewing. We had 34 applicants, LOL, and selected 12 for interviews. Wow. I'll tell you, I'll close with a story, Tim. Just before I left, before I finished working, AI was on the rise. This was late 2023 or mid 2000, early 2024, I think it was. And I was on one of those interview panels, and I was one of the early adopters of AI where I worked at the county. And we were going to do the interview of the three candidates. And I got the resume packet from HR a few days before the interview to study beforehand. And I had this idea. I spun up a little GPT and I said, hey, I want you to help interview. And what I did was I took a screenshot of the job posting on our website. I said, here's the job. And then I gave it all three of the resumes. And I said, here are the resumes that we're going to interview. Can you pick, can you forecast who we're going to pick and the reasons why? And it ranked them, it studied it, it ranked them one, two, three, and by damned, it picked the right person. And now I wouldn't go so far as to say it probably didn't sway my judgment because I was one of the three people that judged who we would hire. I think that I selected that person on their native aptitude and qualifications, but the AI did it, and I was pretty impressed. And and it wasn't just like it was a crapshoot. It actually gave strong, reasoned, rational uh, reasons to choose that person. I was very impressed. So when I had that one interview a few months back, and I was interviewed by an AI, I didn't feel slighted in the least. I was like, this is a competent. This is probably a competent interviewer. And I did get. Oh, but I don't know if I ever told you guys. I did get selected for that position, and they put me on a waiting list. They did, and I guess I'm a part of that. I got the job. Well, the thing was, it's that job is to train AIs using expertise, and my expertise would be project management. So if they have an IT that needs some tuning with project management, they would call me up and say, "Hey, Kurt, we've got an AI that needs a little tuning. Can you listen to it, talk for a little bit, and correct it, etc." Final thing. Now that I'm glad I mentioned that because I want to make an announcement about something that I'm doing that started yesterday. I created a custom GPT called the Good Life GPT, and I spent all morning yesterday uh, teaching it about going alone. I trained it, and it's the purpose of that was I wanted to create a GPT that I could point at the open world and that people could come to and with their dilemmas or their questions or their ideas, and they could talk to the AI, and it would give advice and feedback from the perspective of the Good Life Creed. And by damned if it didn't work. Last night, before I went to bed, I was so busy in the afternoon with the interview and all, even though I had finished the GPT by lunchtime, I didn't have a chance to talk to it until the evening. And I ran it through its paces, and for the most part, it was pretty much there. A couple of issues that I have to work on, and I know how to tune it. I need to tune the AI, so it's not ready to share with the world yet. A couple of issues I have to work on is that apparently, sadly, there was a situation not so long ago where someone, apparently, the news was that someone had committed suicide under the auspices of having a conversation or after having a conversation with ChatGPT in particular. This made the news. So OpenAI, the company that runs ChatGPT, um, made some tuning to the AI to make it very, very sensitive to the topic of death. So, as you know, if you've watched these videos, the number one objective in my creed is to be always ready to die. So, what I discovered yesterday was when I was talking to the GPT, it was inexplicably avoiding that. I would ask it, what is objective number one? And it would give me objective number two. Reliably give me objective number two. I was like, why is it doing this? Why is it avoiding this? And then finally I got it to talk about it, and it was beating around the bush. Like it would say, I gave it I read my journal entry to it. I said, now analyze this and read and give me an analysis back through the filter of the Good Life Creed. And it cited objective number one, and, and it and it and instead of saying always ready, be always ready to die, it said be always ready for change. Subtle difference, kind of on the mark, but subtly different. And then it went on to explore that, and I was like, why didn't it say death? And someone I posted and I recorded the whole conversation and I posted it on my YouTube channel. It's 18 minutes long. It's very interesting. Have a listen. You can hear me talking to the GPT in it's a female voice, and I'm testing it. I'm running it through its paces and giving it some corrections and talking about next steps. And you'll hear it avoiding the topic of death. And someone left a comment saying, "Kurt, what's happening is that." They explained to me about this situation, and the GPT uh, ChatGPT has been trained to avoid the subject. Now I don't know how I'm going to get over this. I'll have to have a good talking to with it and say this is not the type of death that you've been trained to not talk about. We'll see. But what the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of the objectives one by one, and all 35 of the principles. I'm going to ask the GPT because it already knows them all. I trained it all. It has the whole creed in its mind. And I say, tell me what does principle, what does objective number 5 mean, which is the uh, um, uh, to do good things relative to the creed, relative to my values. What does that mean? And I want to hear what it has to say. And if it's got it wrong, then I'll change it. I'll talk to it until it understands, and then I'll have it remember that. And I know how to do that. Probably it's going to take me a week to finish this training, but when I'm done, I'm going to have a GPT that's facing the outside world called the Good Life GPT, and it's actually out there. I just haven't. If you search around Chat GPT, you can find it and talk to it, but it's not really done yet because I did make it public. But then I'll formally announce it, and this will bring me better prepared to die, because that means that once I'm dead, I've got somebody who can answer those, because I get email and questions from people. It's kind of like the dear asking the newspaper columnist life advice stuff. I get that stuff, and so now I can say, oh, okay, well, if I'm dead and you can't send an email to me, then go talk to this GPT, because it's my best proxy, and I'll be one more step better ready for death. Okay, any more comments before I finish? Tim says, I think AI would have really helped in some ways, especially with so many candidates. I think that's how companies are starting to use AI now, is to vet it down to just the most qualified. Because there's always a lot that HR. Well, the county of Riverside, we use HR to filter those out. Jim Bird says, I've been experimenting with the GPT today, and it's already providing some very insightful advice. Isn't it amazing? It's amazing how you can tune a GPT and create a custom GPT with very specific knowledge about things. I have GPTs that have been in place for months and months and months, helping me out with stuff. Some that are maybe more than a year old. Evelyn says, I saw the first part of the video and noticed her avoidance of number 1. Wild, isn't that? Yes, you saw that too, huh, Evelyn? All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to stop now. I've got about 12 minutes to make it to radio exercise. Dun, 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 dun. And I hope you all have a wonderful day or night or whatever it is. And thank you for coming and joining me today. I really do appreciate it. And Jim Birds, I will be working a little more on your book today, and I hope to have it out to you sooner rather than later. And take care, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe. Bye bye. You too. Have a great day, Tim and Robert.